Chapter 26. Cyril. The colors of the picture behind the thin, yellowing plastic in Cyril's wallet had become muted and subtle. He slipped it out for a better look. In the bottom right-hand corner, Class of '02 was in Boston gold. On the back, Dad, you're the best. Thanks for everything, your son, Billy. He remembered the first conversation he had with his son when he found him smoking marijuana, and the last before he died at 22 from an overdose of cocaine. As his father, it made no sense for his son to seek an artificial high when he lived among so much natural beauty. The third-floor balcony of their villa provided perennial vistas of glorious sunrises, and the first-floor patio majestic sunsets. When he picked up Billy from the airport after a year in rehab, Cyril believed he had his son back. Billy's weight was at a healthy level, and he talked with conviction and good sense. He told Cyril he didn't have to worry about him because the road to recovery was too difficult to do a repeat performance. 3 weeks later, Cyril found him slumped over the steering wheel of the taxi he'd given him to make an honest living. Cyril held on to Mary at Billy's funeral as they stood before the coffin. He promised to vindicate his death, to save other young people from the same fate and other parents the heartache he and Mary would feel the rest of their lives. He glimpsed up from the photo in time to see Ernesto coming. He gently put it back into the sleeve it had been in since he first got it. "Hey, man." Cyril crawled into the front seat next to Ernesto and signaled that the Jeep might be bugged. So they exchanged small talk about the weather, and in case they were wired, Cyril fabricated a story of revenge for the cottage capers. He put a serrated edge to each of his words, then lapsed into silence. He started up again, going in a different direction. He asked Ernesto if they ate burritos in St. Martin. "No, it's not native to our culture, Cyril, but I have had them before." "Yeah, I had one or two. A whole meal wrapped up, right?" "Yes, rice, beans, meat, sometimes cilantro." This discussion was cold talk the two of them had developed when they first partnered in this business, so Ernesto's responses confirmed he understood. It was time to wrap up things. "Maybe when I get home, I'll have me old lady to make some for me. Need a change from this regular stuff. Now the rice can be mushy and soft, no?" Ernesto answered, "No, but the beans are soft. They make you gassy, though." "What else? I remember the bread around it, but wasn't there something green inside?" So far, Cyril knew Ernesto had his passport transportation, and now he needed to find out if he had enough money for his family back in St. Martin. Ernesto laughed. "A lot of people don't like the green stuff. But when I had it, I did. It's cilantro. I remember asking the server what it was, and I got a bunch of it dried, and I put it on everything." The men nodded at each other. They didn't give a thumbs up in case someone was filming them and wondered why they'd do that over a damn burrito recipe. Cyril knew he and Ernesto would never see each other again after they left Antigua. It was for their safety. His own life was in peril, but he was older, with more living behind him than before him. He didn't want to die, but he was prepared to do so. The game they were in had more hash marks under the dead column than the living one. Images of Mary, Grace, his elderly Aunt Maymay, and others flashed through his mind. It would be great to live to be Maymay's age, 84, and he was going to do his best to do so, but if he didn't, he wouldn't go without a fight. Ernesto circled the island. He stopped next to two bikini-clad girls walking towards a remote beach. "Would you like a ride?" "No, thank you. We don't have much further." Cyril chimed in. "If you're going to Jumbie Bay, it's further away than you think." That was the only walk-to beach in the area. "Get in. We'll get you there." It was also where Ernesto would later in the evening board a fast-moving speedboat to Interpol authorities who awaited him. As for Cyril, his meeting the next day with the Sancho operative loomed large. He disclosed that Ernesto was an informant, only after he had the assurance Ernesto was safe. Ratting out Ernesto would make Sancho and his lieutenants more trusting of him. Chapter 27. Grace. When Cyril called her house in Lauderdale, she knew it had to be an emergency. They pledged to respect the sanctity of each other's home. I'd usually do the calling because Kirk was away so much. Grace saw Nanette cock her head and give her a questioning look. Oh, I'd call him at the cab stand. If he wasn't there, a dispatcher would contact him and he would return my call. But that day he called directly. After I answered, all I could hear was weeping on the phone. Grace and Nanette talked at length about the unnatural state of a child dying before the parents. I don't know how I'd handle that, Grace. Losing Billy was devastating, but I would be inconsolable if one of my children left before I did. So I could tell you I continued my affair because I could not cause Cyril to suffer another loss, but that would be a lie. For selfish reasons and my own insecurities, I kept talking to him and seeing him as much as I could. Well, if his marriage is no albatross, what do you think is worse? Staying in your unhappy marriage or being free to continue your happy affair? Nanette folded her arms and waited for her friend to explain. Cyril changed after Billy died. I can understand that. How do you mean? Did he lapse into depression? Have bouts of angry outbursts? No. After that first emotional phone call, he returned to his old mellow self, but would be distant and secretive. He was not like that before. Through the back screen door, Grace saw Esme and Milady coming towards the porch. They had empty plates and glasses in their hands and would want to clean up the kitchen. Think we can exchange places with them, Nanette? We can. You don't want to sit on the front porch instead? Grace shook her head. No, out there is fine. As Esme and Milady came into the kitchen, Nanette said, Well, we'll play musical chairs. Grace and Nanette retreated to the chairs under the banana tree. We didn't even give them a chance to cool. Still warm. This trip is helping me to put the pieces together. Like on the plane over, he smoked marijuana. Something I thought he'd never do since he hated the drug that started Billy on his path of destruction. She searched Nanette's face and wondered why her friend looked at her with concern. What, Nanette? You are talking coolly, but that prominent vein in the middle of your forehead has me worried. How are you feeling? The tight feeling above Grace's brow now had her attention. She massaged the area with her fingertips. I guess enough is going on to elevate my blood pressure. I must say I've never had a problem with it before. Well, we aren't getting any younger, Nanette laughed. Gotta be careful of what we let settle in us. It will show on the outside. This is a sign I need to simplify my life. Do you have an aspirin? Maybe that will help. Nanette called out to Milady and asked her to get them from the cabinet above the refrigerator and to bring water, too. As Milady brought them to the table, Nanette said, Whenever I'm in the States, I load up on things like this. People don't know it, but in the islands, the simplest things are hard to get. Grace sat and stared at the aspirin until she heard, Here's your water, Miss Grace. Without looking up, Grace took the glass. Thank you, Milady. When Milady mounted the back porch steps and disappeared inside, Nanette touched Grace's hand. Maybe you shouldn't talk about this anymore today. The cell phone in Grace's pocket rang. She put her finger up. Let me get this, dear. Oh, hi, Dodo. Chapter 28. Noel. Desaline, did the rest of your work go well? Yeah. Why you ask? If it didn't, could you do anything about it? Noel regretted the question. Nothing would be right until he made more money and got the house Desaline wanted up next to Phyllis. It was beautiful sitting close to the top of the mountain. He rued he had taken her there to visit. Same for their visit to Cyril and Mary's. He wished he hadn't taken her there either. Ever since she had been very unhappy with their little cottage. What she didn't consider, These folks were twice their ages. They had not started out at the top of the mountain. They lived down below before they accumulated enough money to improve their lives. Besides, they were married. He and Desaline weren't. She would not accept his proposal until he proved himself more. Desaline, I'm telling you in advance that I'm going to sail up to Florida with a chap who is recuperating on Jos Van Dyke. I will make money helping him get back home. How will you get back here is now my question. He'll pay for me to fly back, but before I make the turnarounds, I want to go ashore there and get you those nice shoes and dresses they have. Desaline sat quiet, brooding before she said, All sounds too good to be true. But if it turns out to be true, it will be great. When is this to happen, Noel? In about a week and a half. He'll call when he is ready. I'll take the ferry over and we will set sail. To where in Florida? Lauderdale, he told me. You write those sizes down. I want to get everything right, Dodo. I want to get everything right, Dodo. Noel rose and stood behind Desaline, massaging her shoulders and neck. I wish you could come with me, but it's business, you know? One day we will go up to the States together. Will you like that? I'm happy right here in St. Thomas. I'm just not happy being here in this hovel. She pushed his hands away and went to their bedroom. I'm tired. I hope Jana's come in for her shift like she should. Soon the shower started as Desaline prepared for bed. He went onto the front porch and looked at the night sky. His phone rang. Yeah, Noel here. Oh, hello, Cyril. Sure, come by. Desaline is already in bed. We can talk. He sat on the edge of the porch when the headlights came towards him. He stood and walked out into the yard. It would be better to talk there in case Desaline was not totally asleep. Hello, Noel. Get in. Sure, Cyril. Is everything set with Christian? Definitely. I'm trying to convince him to come along and keep an eye on me and his goods. I don't know if he's feeling that. He's the brains of the operation, if you can believe that. Stupid bastard, he thinks he's smart. But he likes to have his fingers in every pie rather than trusting others to do their part. So he'll go with you. Yeah, I make him think that I am all loose at the ends and can't think straight because of Desaline. He'll want to come to make sure I don't sheer off and do something unwise. I know he will be on board right with me and Kirk. Do you have a joint? I banged up my right knee when I went after a snake. I need to ease my pain. Snake? Long story, my son. Noel went to a pillar at the corner of the porch and brought out a matchbox. From his pocket, he pulled out rolling papers and handed it to Cyril, who now stood in front of his car. You gonna roll it, or do you want me to do it? I'll do it. I don't want to be secondhand kissing Desaline when you lick all over it. I don't blame you. Cyril rolled, then wet the paper to hold things together and lit up, sending sparks in Noel's directions. Cyril, careful. I don't want to have to explain holes in my shirt. Damn. Where is your backbone? Do you have to explain everything to her? Not everything, just most. Noel managed to laugh. When you headed to Jos Van Dyke, Kirk gave me this phone. Said he won't give me a heads up at least 2 days in advance. That should be no later than Thursday. Good. Gives us time to get everything into St. Thomas and onto his boat. Convince him to stay back in the basin. That way, we'll have better access. I would load him up in Jos Van Dyke, but it's too damn quiet there. Any kind of activity can alert the harbor patrol. So, we need to do it here. I agree. I'm meeting with Christian again tomorrow and really convince him he needs to come along. Yeah, this one be big, so he needs to come to protect it. Greed will motivate him for sure. Cyril slapped Noel on the back and returned to his car. Give me a call when Kirk tells you what to do. I'll have it all set up on my end. Will do, Cyril. Another thing, get rid of that shit. The feds want the ones dumping the hard stuff on the streets, but they don't like this either. Cyril dropped the joint and crushed it beneath the heel of his shoe. Soon I can stop me act. Chapter 29. Grace. Sorry, Nanette, it was Cyril. You just said you do the calling. Mary has gone to Boston. Her mother is quite ill. Oh, well, you'll not want to waste his free time hanging out with me. When are you leaving? Oh, no, it's not like that. I love him, but I have others I care about, too, and you're at the top of that list, my friend. Nanette patted Grace's hand. I cherish our friendship, Grace. I'm here to help you in any way I can. Cyril, I know. Let's make the best of this last day. Cyril will meet me in Antigua tomorrow for my flight back to St. Thomas. Kirk is so wrapped up in his own web, he thinks I'm flying in from Lauderdale to sail with him. She said, shaking her head. None of this makes any sense. We need to be adults and make adult decisions. Just know, Grace, I'm here for you. This might not be the case for you, but I'm the happiest I've been in my adult life. Leonid is cash poor, but he is super rich in so many ways. I would not give this up for anything back in Florida. As soon as we get home and Kirk is back on his feet, I'm telling him I want a divorce. The kids have noticed our chilliness. Last year, Jillian came right out and asked me why we were still together. Of course, I didn't have a truthful answer to give. You'll be fine. Come on, let's change and walk down to the beach. It's another gorgeous day here in the tropics. Can't let it go to waste. Fantastic idea. I'll tell Esme to get her belongings together so we can get on the first ferry out tomorrow. Until then, I'm going to enjoy as much of Montserrat as I can. At the terminal, Cyril idled at the curb for them. Ernesto was on his mission, so Cyril did the chauffeuring. Hello, my favorite ladies. He put an arm around each of them and drew them in for a hug. Esme, I gotta make this a quick drop-off. Grace and I have to make a dash for the airport. Desmond will be there shortly to take us up island. Well, let me get my goodbye hugs now from you two. I really enjoyed the visit, Miss Grace. Oh, yes, Esme. Same here. Promise you'll be back soon. Esme looked at Grace and winked. You don't have to wait for Sarah to come here. You know, other planes fly here other than Desmond's. She swatted at Cyril with her straw hat. But seriously, I'm glad to always see you both. Now, go so you won't have Desmond fretting. Cyril looked at her with a wide smile on his face. He can fret. 'Twill do him no good. I know. Grace waited outside while he ran inside to give the key to a chap at a kiosk. He would take care of it for him. Just as they had done upon entry, they went through the personnel-only door and dashed across the tarmac to the plane. Once the plane leveled off and cruised toward St. Thomas, Grace said, Cyril, I'm asking Kirk for a divorce when I get back to the States. He squeezed Grace's hand. Why now? There was no warmth in his voice, but neither was there a chill. Cyril was just being his usual laid-back self. I'm tired of living a lie. It's miserable. I don't have any reason to stay. The children are grown, and neither one of them are rushing to the altar or overly excited about making me a grandma. I want to look in the mirror and see an honest woman, not one full of deceit. I know the feeling, but I can't leave Mary. Not until I'm sure she is in a better state of mind. She's going longer stretches of time without breaking down. I don't want to set her back by leaving. He reached over and turned Grace's face towards his. But I will one day. Just wait and see. Grace said no more. She smiled and looked at the clouds. In that moment, she realized divorcing Kirk was not about getting with Cyril. It was about getting to her true self. If he stayed with Mary, she was fine. If not, she would be okay. She needed time to discover who she really was and cast off the fantasy she had pretended to be. Desmond taxied along the runway and came to a stop. They applauded and thanked him for the safe trip. In passing, Grace touched his shoulder. "You're the best. See you again soon, I hope." "It was my pleasure, and likewise." Cyril's connections in St. Thomas were just as good as Antigua. They skirted past customs and went directly out to the taxi idling at the curb. "Get Grace over to Yacht Haven. They are waiting for her." Grace looked on as he issued orders. "Love, have a smooth sail back to the Sunshine State." He quickly pecked her on the cheek and moved in the direction of a black sedan several cars back. All of this was odd. Usually he went with her to Mountaintop before they left. Now everything was so hurried and abrupt. More strange behavior that was out of character for him. "Well, here we are again, Miss Grace. Just couldn't stay away any longer, could you? The island can grab your heart and not let go, can't it?" "That's usually the case, Wyndham. But this time I came back to sail home with Kirk. He got injured and had to stay here for a couple of weeks. I promised I would come." "Oh, that shall please him. I understand Noel is going with him so that he will not be overly worked. Sometimes after an illness or accident, it takes time to build up your stamina." Grace nodded in agreement. Wyndham knew about her and Cyril, obviously, but did he know about Kirk and Joy? She wondered because he was connected to everyone in this web in some way. Whatever, she didn't care. Her mind was set. She was ready to go through with her plans. Once she decided on something, she hated to stretch it out. In Lauderdale, she would go directly to Jackson's salon. Chapter 30. Noel. "Christian, can you meet me at Roadside Cafe? I need to see you bad." Noel flipped the phone closed and took a swallow of his beer. He smiled as he thought of the pleasant morning he had with Desaline before he dropped her off at work. He made her extra happy with his promises to bring half of South Florida back to her and get her ideal house close to Phyllis, of course. Her words still played in his head. "I don't want to just tell her where I live. I want her to see with her own eyes every day when she look up the hill. There I will sit, looking down at she." Why she needed to compete was beyond him, but there were many things he did not understand. Even so, he loved her. She was a bit of a witch, but she had a very good side to her deposition, too. She had a steady job and income, not him. He was a hit and miss. Besides, her body made him go weak at the thought of her lying next to him. He was lost in thought when Christian startled him. "You're right, Noel. I need to go along. I was right in your face before you realized I was even here." "Sorry, Christian, my mind." "Don't have to say it on Desaline or some dumb shit she said. I know I'm 1,000% right." Noel looked at the empty beer can he held. "What can I say? You're right. I'm glad you're coming with us. 'Tis too much to mess up." "You're effing right. If I could board the summer breezes without you, you little airhead prick, I would. I tell you, Christian, I'm up to this. You'll see, I have to make good so I can get Desaline." "Just shut up, Noel. I don't want to hear that name anymore. Once we do this run up to Florida, I don't want to see your noodle back ass anymore." Noel walked to his motorbike and Christian followed close behind. He needed a ride because when he got to Roadhouse, he had paid his motorbike taxi driver and sent him away. Now he had to ride to Yacht Haven with Noel. "It's been a long day. I've been spinning like a top trying to make it all come together." Christian grunted, straddled the bike, and held onto the sides of the seat. No way in hell was he going to be hugged up with Noel like a girl. At Yacht Haven, Noel pulled close to the guardhouse. "Christian, you know my jet ski, right? Go there. I'm giving you the key for my bike to be picked up by..." Christian shot the bird. He didn't want to hear the rest. Did Noel have anyone else in his life other than Desaline? Damn. "I'm tired of being the bitch on the back anyway. I'll get off right here." "That's fine with me. You know my jet ski for sure? He didn't say anything. He found Noel's jet ski and sat waiting for him. When he arrived, they went to the summer breezes. Grace and Kirk stood on the deck chatting. Noel waved. He and Christian climbed up, then hoisted his jet ski on board. Hello, Miss Grace, Mr. Kirk. This is my countryman, Christian. Christian extended his hand to acknowledge the introduction. We want to make extra sure you reach home safe and unwearied. It's been a harrowing 2 weeks, Noel said. It has been. Kirk moved towards the pilot house. Oh, no, Mr. Kirk. You take it easy. Christian and I will do all the work. You haven't seen Miss Grace in a while, right? Relax and catch her up. With luck and continued good weather, we'll be back on home turf in 8 or so days. Thanks for loading the provisions. Looks like you didn't leave anything on the island for anyone else. Kirk chuckled and then took a long drag of his pipe. Grace looked at him and wondered when he had started that habit. He had given up smoking years earlier. Interesting. What is? Kirk's voice had an uncharacteristically hard edge to it. Instead of answering, Grace shrugged and smiled and said nothing. He can do whatever makes him happy, she thought. That was her plan. She was already considering living in Montserrat, not too far away from Nanette. Her visit made her realize how much she missed her company. Life was so easy and simple there, and at this point, that's what Grace wanted.